welcome back to my channel for a video I'm really excited about because today I want to talk about you. One of my favorite videos that I've ever done, it was almost about a year ago, I was having my dad on the channel to answer your fatherly advice questions for you, and the video didn't blow up. It didn't perform the best, but it was just the most meaningful, and it just felt like such a great conversation, and I really enjoyed it. And in real life, I'm a big sister, so I thought it would be a lot of fun to try to bring that dynamic over here and answer whatever questions y'all want to talk about your life or about your experiences as your kind of internet big sister. I know that I'm actually probably younger than a lot of people. A lot of people don't realize my age a lot of the time, but I've been a big sister basically my whole life, so it's what I'm used to. So I asked you on the community page what you want to talk about, and I also asked everybody per usual to like the comments you wanted me to most respond to. So let me pull up my community page and let's see what y'all want to talk about.
Get to know you. Just wanna get to know you.
Also, I got a mint limeade kombucha for today. So good. It's so good. I feel like I need to preface this with clearly if any of these have to do with emotions or feelings or just mental health in general. I'm not anywhere near a professional in anything, but all I can do is relate it back to myself and what I would do in your shoes and in your scenario. So just want to make that disclaimer. But there are, people that specialize in dealing with issues like this that would have a much more correct answer. Okay, so this one is very highly liked. This one says, do you find it challenging to make friends that share similar values and or lifestyle? I find it so challenging because most women I meet, still at my age, I'm 30, want to go to parties, raves, go out drinking, smoking weed. I'm at that point in my life where I just want to have some girls over for a girl night with dinner and or lunch and go hiking. Anyways, would love for you to talk about friendships. Thanks. I totally understand that and I totally get that. I feel like lifestyles don't really have an age limit, if that makes sense. So I'm sure there's people well over 30, 40, 50 that love that kind of fast social lifestyle, going out, going to parties, drinking, all that type of thing. But on the reverse, I also have found people my age and younger that really love, more calm settings, more dinner parties and hikes and what you said too. I know there's cliches that go along with age, but I do want to encourage you that I think that no matter what age you are, you'll be able to find people that have similar interests. And I know it's sometimes hard, especially depending on what environment you're in. For example, when I was working at a restaurant, a lot of my friends there had a little bit more of a fast lifestyle, whereas people that I met in community groups and things like that had a little bit more of a calm lifestyle that aligned a little bit better with mine. So I think that the atmosphere that you're in also sometimes leans one way or another. I really believe in quality over quantity of friends. I know that sounds ironic because I call this a giant friend group online, but as far as in my personal life, I would rather have just a small handful of really close friends that I feel align with what I enjoy doing than trying to seek out a lot of friends. That would maybe be a more surface level friendship. I would say be mindful of where you're meeting people and how you're meeting people. What things do you really enjoy that you think would be a good basis for a friendship? Do you really enjoy yoga? Because maybe it'd be fun to sign up for some yoga classes at your gym. It's sometimes scary to initiate conversation with people in new areas, but I think initiating conversation, thank goodness in this world of social media, you can follow each other on Instagram and then one day be like, hey, you want to grab brunch before yoga? If you feel like that person is similar to you in their interests, I think is a really good way to do it. And I know it is intimidating, but when I moved to LA, I wanted to find other acting friends, so I joined an improv class, and then I would meet other actors that way and asked if they wanted to get dinner or something before class. And so that was me being intentional of what do I need in a friendship right now? Where do those people reside? And how do I meet them in an organic setting? I hope that helps. I like this one. I think this might be one of the most liked ones. It has almost 40 likes. It says, Michelle, how did you know Brook was the one? I was with a guy for 2.5 years and only saw signs after the first 1.5 years. Is there a way that you knew your relationship with Brook was different than your previous boyfriends? And how long do you think you should date someone to make sure they're the one? I would say as far as how long, it so differs for every person and for every relationship. I've had some people that don't realize that they're not the one in a relationship for 10 years, whereas I've had some people know immediately second date that they're the one and they've been right. So I think timeline really differs for people. I noticed for myself around a year is when the relationship starts to get really comfortable and true colors start to come out a little bit more. And that's just me in my previous relationships. I noticed that I felt a shift in the relationship around that time where either things got really, really comfortable in a good way or too comfortable in a bad way to where priorities weren't met. For me, for knowing Brooke was the one thing in our relationship that I hadn't experienced in other relationships in the past was that I could just be myself without ever having to think about it. I noticed in relationships in the past, I would really have to filter myself and be really cautious about the other person's feelings, which obviously you should be mindful of the other person's feelings, but in a more toxic way to where I didn't feel like I could fully express myself without it being met with criticism or with negative emotion or things like that. Whereas with Brooke, it was just really easy to always have fun with each other. And another reason I knew that he was the one is because I felt like our relationship was built so much more on like a friendship first, to where I just genuinely enjoyed hanging out with him and a group of people, being around him, spending time with him. Obviously, physical attraction is important and it was there, but I feel like in relationships in the past, it was built more on just the attraction and not really like the solid friendship beneath it. Whereas with Brooke was the first time I experienced all of that at once, because I'm sure when you've been married 50 years, like the physical attraction might not be the priority. So it's really good to make sure that you have those other pillars holding you up. So that's just from my experience, but I really do think it differs with every relationship. This one says, how do you and your husband deal with friendships? Me and my hubby are in our 30s and it's very difficult to make friends. It's either they don't want to be friends because you're married, or they don't have the same interests, or I can't be friends because you don't have Facebook. It's very annoying. It is hard to make married friendships, and I will say that a lot of our married friends have come from our church, and I don't really know how people make married friends without that community. The church kind of is set up to like help you make friends and help you make community. Like they'll have like married Bible studies, or you know, like, hey, all married people, we're gonna meet at lunch on this Sunday for whatever to meet each other. So they just kind of like make it easy for you. But we have met some married friends, our neighbors. In LA, it's really weird. People don't really like to talk to their neighbors, which is so weird to me. But we went out of our way to meet some of our neighbors in our last place, and we really enjoyed them. And they were actually like 10 years older than us, but they were great friends. So yeah, I would say, I know it's hard to meet other married friends where the wife likes the wife and the husband likes the husband. And if you're not involved in a church, then I don't really have that much experience outside of church making married friends as a married couple. But I would say, like, go out of your way to meet people that you're already near and you're already around, and maybe you'll end up liking them, maybe you won't, but at least you have your neighbor's number if you lock yourself out of the house. And I don't know, you know, it never hurts to meet people around you, but it's really scary to initiate that. And I think that the more people you meet around you in your day-to-day life, the higher likelihood is that you will end up liking them and becoming friends with them. Okay, this one has quite a few likes. It says, hi Michelle, how do you stay so motivated to work towards your future? You seem to work hard every day, whereas I tend to procrastinate and give in to feelings of comfort or self-indulgence. You've already seen success and made a life for yourself, even though you're younger than me. How do you maintain your mental health and happiness? I'm going to be totally transparent. That's something I'm still working on doing in the reverse. I'm learning how to maintain my mental health and my happiness amongst being a person that really enjoys to work and really enjoys to hustle. It's interesting, Brooke and I were actually at dinner the other day, and I asked him, what's one thing you'd change about yourself? And he said, I wish I was more motivated. And he said, what's one thing you would change about yourself? And I said, I actually wish I was less motivated, because I find it really hard to appreciate where I am. I'm always just thinking about the next thing I want to do, the next place I want to get, and it really makes gratitude hard. And I really think that gratitude is one of the most important things to having a happy and healthy life. So as far as becoming more motivated, something that gets me up and going every single day is just picturing where I want to be. And I know that if I don't start today, then I'm one more day delayed to where I want to be. So I think, I mean, people do like visualization exercises, or they create vision boards or whatever that might be, but I just know what I want, and I know that nobody's going to give it to me. And I know that if I just sit around and wait, it's not going to happen. So knowing my end goal is what motivates me to work hard every single day. I do want to be totally transparent that I'm kind of working on the reverse right now. I'm kind of working on taking it easier on myself and taking the pressure off of myself, because somewhere in the middle ground is where you find health. You don't want to be the most motivated person in the room, because you'll never be the happiest person in the room. And that's what I'm learning. But motivation is important to getting to where you want to go. That wasn't really an answer, but that's Those are my thoughts on that. This is interesting. This is, how do you approach giving advice as a big sister without overimposing your opinions? I'm a big sister and I always try to help objectively and let her make her own decisions, but sometimes it's hard. My sister Jacqueline is 3 years younger than me, but it's so funny how similar and how completely opposite we are. We're similar in the way that we're both 3 wing 2s. So we're literally the exact same personality type as far as work goes, but we have completely opposite interests, completely opposite a lot of things. Like, she is very studious and athletic, where I was very artistic and like I did well in school, but I didn't like school, whereas she's gonna get her master's and like very academic. I think for me, it's realizing that we're different is helpful, because I will never try to push any of my beliefs on her. But I think that being a big sister is really just being a safe space for your little sister to come to. Like, sometimes it's hard to go to your parents about things, about help, about advice, but your big sister can't discipline you, so it's less intimidating to come to your big sister for advice about things. So I think that just being a safe space and being willing to listen is honestly the best thing that you could ever do for a sibling. Even if you don't give them actual advice, just letting them talk through it to someone that is safe to talk through it to is a lot of times a way for them to discover the answer for themselves. That's what I try to do. I might not be the best at it. Jacqueline, are you watching? I know she's not watching. Okay, this one says, how do you keep from burnout? I find myself doing a lot of work one day, but then losing motivation to continue after a couple days. Like, is it okay to not be productive every day? You seem very on top of everything, and I really hope to be in the near future. This is kind of back to what we just talked about. I haven't fully experienced burnout yet, and I know that I'm kind of just wild, being an overly I just hate to sit still is really what it boils down to. But I don't think that that's healthy at all. And I do think that in order to work well, you need to rest. You're going to have a much better outcome if you work hard 5 days of the week and take off 2 days of the week than if you work so hard 7 days of the week that your work quality just depreciates. I think that rest is important to work, and that you're actually doing yourself a favor if you rest to your work, if you are similar to me and just want to be doing things all the time. And like I said, that's something that I'm working on. I think burnout is very real, even though I haven't reached that point yet. And I think that you are sacrificing your future if you allow yourself to get to that point. So it's more important to think about long-term than short-term. Long-term, I know where I need to go, and to get there, I need to conserve fuel and conserve energy. Whereas if I just pedal to the metal floor, my car is gonna burn out, my tire is gonna burn out, and I'm gonna be sitting on the side of the road. It's the long road trip, you know? Wake up and drive every day, but also take time to refuel your car, or else you're not gonna make it there. Kombucha's good. This one says, what's your advice for someone thinking about a career change? I say go for it. I know logically, like I'm sure Brook would say the different. We actually did a very similar podcast about this, where we talked about taking the leap, where we discussed how we decided to quit our jobs to pursue jobs that we really wanted to do, and we had very different mentalities behind it. He was very logical, put pen to paper. I, on the other hand, am a firm believer in, like, you have one life. You don't know how long your life is going to be, so I don't want to not experience something that I'm interested in experiencing. I would rather take the leap and figure it out, and maybe be like, you know what, this didn't work out, but it's totally fine, I'm just gonna go back to what I'm doing, than to sit around and just wait until the time is right, because what if that time never comes and you never get to experience that? So I would say, if you don't enjoy your current job, and if there's something you really want to do, work towards being able to do it. And that might not be an immediate thing, it might be something that you have to train for, or you have to research, or if it's doing something similar to this, you gotta start putting out content now, because it's gonna take a couple years to make money from it. But I'm a big believer in do it. This one says, any advice for figuring out what you want to do for the future? I graduate college soon, and I'm anxious because I still don't know what I want to do after graduation. This is also something that we kind of talked about in a podcast. We did a whole podcast talking about our college experience. We actually called it Is College a Scam? It's pretty controversial if you want to listen to it, but we were saying we really wish that there was like a destigmatization, that's not a word, you know what I mean, of either taking a year before college to figure things out, or taking a couple years after college to figure things out. I totally think it's okay to take a little bit of time and figure out what you want to do in life. Like, it's so hard to make such a big life decision at such a young age, and there's always flexible, fun jobs like working at a restaurant where you could just go in at nights and make pretty good money, and take that year or two to do that, to figure out exactly what you want to do when you get out of college. Like, there's no rush. There's no one way to do life. There's no one timeline. It's totally okay to be a server forever while you figure it out, you know? Like, don't let people put pressure on you that you have to figure out what 9 to 5 you want to do when you're 22 and graduated. I'm still figuring out what I want to do. I mean, I don't know. So yeah, I would say take the pressure off of yourself and explore and find a flexible job in the meantime just to pay rent. This one, I don't know if this person's asking this as advice for themselves, like if they have their own channel, but this one has a lot of likes. It says, I'm curious as to how you approach brands to partner with them. What information do you provide them with? How does the whole interaction go? What are some things to keep in mind of what to do, what not to do, and how to not be bamboozled? I pitch myself to brands that I love all the time because I want to work with brands I love. So what I do is I have a media kit that basically has like a little bio about me, about my interests, about my life, and then also has analytics. So I share with them like how many average monthly views I get, my audience demographics, so like this percent female, this percent male, the age range, the countries that they are most viewing out of, because that's important to advertisers as well. And then I have a rate sheet saying this is what I normally charge for an inclusion. If you want 90 to 120 seconds, this is what I charge for a dedicated video, for an Instagram picture, for an Instagram story, all those types of things, so that they know what I typically charge for those things. The interaction typically goes with negotiations. If I already know and love the product, then I already know that I love the product. But if it's a new company that maybe reaches out to me, I always tell them, all right, send over your stuff. I want to try this out for a month or two. I want to make sure that I like the quality of it and that it aligns well with me and my channel and my viewers, and then we can discuss what working together would look like. But going back and forth, there's a lot of negotiations, there's a lot of legal contracts. So if you don't want to be bamboozled, I would say never work for free. I mean, unless you're starting out. If you have a very small channel, it's totally okay to work in exchange for product, because as your channel grows, you now have a relationship with that brand, and if they want to work with you in a year from now, you can be like, I'm really excited to let you know that now I'm actually only doing paid partnerships, but if that's something you're interested, I would love to talk rates with you. And read contracts very closely. Watch out for exclusivities. A lot of brands will say, like, say if it's a fitness brand, leggings, they might say, we want to have a 30-second inclusion in your video, and they might offer you a decent amount of money, and you might say, wow, that sounds great. But then they'll say exclusivity for the next 2 years, meaning you won't be able to work with any other brand that sells any other sort of activewear. And if they want to have exclusivity, they need to pay you a lot more, because think about it, maybe you could get 4 more brand deals in the next 2 years with athletic companies, meaning they need to pay you at least 4 times what they're asking, because they are now preventing you from making that money with other athletic companies. Or you can negotiate out the exclusivity or negotiate shorter terms for exclusivity. So I would say that that's the number one thing to look out for if you're starting to get into this world of working with brands. And let's end with this one. This says, do you have any advice for healing from heartbreak? I would say do something for yourself. I know my relationship before meeting Brook was my only like pretty serious relationship, and that heartbreak, I felt like that relationship held me back from doing what I wanted in life, which was living in LA, pursuing acting full time. And so in order to kind of heal from that, I'm not saying run away from your problems, but I'm saying do something for yourself that you felt like you couldn't do before. And for me, that just happened to be moving across the country, and I did that immediately. And so it felt very freeing and very liberating to be like, this is my life. I'm taking my life into my hands, and I'm putting myself first for once. I'm making myself a priority for once, is something that's really cool and really healthy, and sometimes difficult to do when you're in a relationship or when you're dealing with heartbreak. So whatever that might be for you, even if it's like just taking a little trip somewhere, if it's starting a new hobby that you didn't feel like you had time to start before, anything, just do something that you've always wanted to do for yourself. I'd say do it. Put yourself first. You deserve to be put first. Okay, I feel like those were all of the most liked comments, but there was quite a few really good ones in there. I just wanted to get to hang out with y'all and connect with y'all and chat with y'all because it's so special to me, and hopefully bring a little bit of value into your life. I don't know if it did or not, but thank you all so much for always choosing to be here. If you clicked on this video, it means that you're one of the people that like is a true friend and truly cares and isn't just here for the subscription box unboxings and for the thrifting, but is actually here to hang out and connect and chat and grow closer together. So I appreciate you, and I love you so very much. I love being your internet big sister, even if I'm younger than you. I hope y'all have the best rest of your day, and I will see you in a video very soon. Bye.